Hello and welcome to Giles and Monty, out and about getting to know Formula Student teams. I am Giles, he is Monty, and we've come all the way to the southwest of England. We've come to Exeter and we are with XRacing. Thank you very much for having us, guys. How are you doing? You all right?
I'm doing well.
Excellent stuff. Would you mind introducing yourselves and how long you've been on the team and what you do at XRacing?
Right, so my name is Thomas. I've been on the team for about 1 year, 8 months around. For 1 year, I was just the low voltage or the electronics member. But now since September-ish, I've been the low voltage lead.
Excellent stuff.
I'm Daniel. I'm the electronics member and the manufacturing member and the powertrain member. So I'm very diverse.
You do a lot.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. And how about you?
Hello, my name is Shannon. I started out as manufacturing and I moved to composites and then CFD, and now I'm the composites lead. I've been here for like 1 year and 8 months as well. Yeah.
So you're all fairly fresh to Formula Student. What's it been like getting involved in Formula Student at Exeter University?
At first, it was kind of like a lot of chores. My first 2 weeks here, I was just filing off chassis tags just to make sure that you can like actually tag them, and then it kind of progressed over time period. You're gonna have to like build trust with the team first for them to let you do more difficult projects, and from that on,
Just for the point of clarification, in case someone doesn't know, what are chassis tags?
chassis tags basically like the tags that they look like, and like if you enlarge them, they look like that, and then you tag them on a chassis, and then you kind of put your body panels on that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're there for body panel attachment.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. How about you, Thomas? How have you found it?
For me as well, when it just started, we needed to test the wiring harness that we had. So I spent like 2 weeks just poking it with a multimeter just to see which leads connected to where, and then label them. And there's hundreds of cables in a wiring loom, and it's quite easy to get it wrong. Mm. And as my first task, I spent like 2 weeks just in the electronics lab, just poking at it and trying to make sure that I had everything labeled correctly. Like Shan said, to show the leads at the time that I wasn't.
You were competent.
That I was competent enough to take on that. So
what's it like working on an EV car then? Is there a lot to go on it?
Yeah, so for the EV at the moment, we really don't have much. We do have like a test bench.
Okay.
And the wiring loom or the wiring diagram is not as big as it will be in the future.
Right, okay.
So, at the moment, we just have like batteries, controller, motor, and emergency stop switch pretty much.
Okay, so there's a lot of individual items going on. It just hasn't come together. But is this what you guys are going to get more involved in going forward, or?
Yes, because we got the motor running, the speed controller running, and we are buying a new controller.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the one that we currently have is just the one that you buy in Amazon, and we are kind of hoping to get a better one that is actually
Bespoke,
exactly.
Yeah.
So are you intending on running an IC or EV at this year's competition? What's the progress map like for the team in terms of its powertrain?
So for this year, I don't believe we're going to be able to deliver a proper EV car.
Understandably, it's an incredibly complex task.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
And also, we here at the University of Exeter, we don't have a high voltage room, so we can't really mess around with high voltage without hurting ourselves probably, and probably break some laws as well.
No, you're quite right. Safety is everything.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is, because it's the one thing that we always endorse in Formula students is, yes, we want to see people be as competitive as possible, but it's got to be done right. Yeah. Absolutely.
No one wants to see anybody getting hurt in the name of Formula Student. That's not what it's about.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, mostly it's just been Brendan, our technician. It's just been me telling sometimes Brendan is my hands. So I tell him what to connect and what to different stuff. Like he was testing the motor the other day, and there was, I think, about 70 volts running through it.
Okay.
And he was trying to figure out how the controller worked.
Right, so there's still a lot of trial and error going on with the system. So, okay, that makes a lot of sense why. So, conservatively, we're focusing on an IC car for this year. And then hopefully for 2026, it will be EV then? Is that the map?
2026 is a bit too close, maybe 7 or 8.
Okay, so it's like a 3-year project, which
Yeah.
to be fair is consistent with what we've seen with the other
absolutely.
universities, because they were
That's-
starting in 2022, and this is them only beginning to get onto the track this year in 2025.
Exactly. There are teams out there that are only just winding down on the use of an internal combustion power unit, having had plans and groundbreaking to create the new facilities they need for high voltage, dating back to the pandemic. That's how long it's taken for them to get to the point where they can cut off the use of an IC and actually fully transition to an EV. And even then, it may not be completed and with a car on track through scrutineering for another 2 or 3 years, beyond having just the baseline of we are now focusing purely on an EV power unit. So that's not out of the realms of tradition within that transition, especially given how expensive it is as well. So how are you feeling about this year's season for XRacing coming up to Formula Student 2025?
To be honest, it's kind of very different. Like last year, we had our chassis done very early on. I mean, it was kind of janky, but it was done. The only problem was that our engine was like done a few days before the event, so we didn't really got through the sound scrutineering. But this year, it's kind of like the other way around. We got our engine working and really nice going like ages ago, but our chassis is still being welded. So,
Do you think you're within the time scale you need to be able to actually get to Formula Student at Silverstone?
I'd like to think that I am. I like to think that we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the chassis being tack welded at the moment?
The chassis is tagged already.
It's a reed tab, and now we are welding it completely. So the final welds and suspension welding and all of the stuff.
Because you haven't been idle waiting for the chassis to be completed. You've been testing last year's car. I'm assuming that it's no longer shooting its exhaust pipe at. How's that been to actually get that car that came so close to getting through scrutineering? How has it been actually being able to drive that and collect data from it?
So we went testing the car, which I mean, we couldn't really go to its full potential because the suspension wasn't there.
Right.
But then a couple of days after that, we tested the exhaust, and we now have a legal one that we hope not to blow up. But yeah, I mean, the car really ran properly with the limitations of the suspension that we couldn't really turn right because it will fall off.
So what happened with the suspension?
So basically, the front hubs were badly designed, or the iterative process hadn't just reached the optimum hub design.
Right.
So the bearings were completely shot for both sides of the front hubs. So yes, we're redesigning them at the moment to be whole for the next 5 years.
Right. Okay. So you're future-proofing the design to the point that it will last for at least half a decade. So it could well be on the first XRacing electric car.
Yes, we wanted not to last the bearings to last 5 miles like they lasted this time. We want the bearings to last what they actually last in a normal car.
Right. Okay. So what's the design process been like for this? How have you gone from the start point to where you are now?
We've done it very iteratively. So we've talked with the technicians, because I've disassembled the hubs designs and then showed them to our technicians in the workshop, who suggested ways that they could be improved. And then we implemented those into SolidWorks, and then went back to the technicians to ask them if it was correct. Because we have Brendan, who is the lead technician in the workshop, worked a lot with suspension and bearings, so he has quite a lot of experience in that regard.
Have you been using any additional simulations alongside cross-referencing with the technicians?
Yes. At the moment, I'm not the one who's in charge of the project. Is Ted, who is the manufacturing lead, who's
Right.
redesigning the complete SolidWorks.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so there's a lot good going on there. I'm going to move on to the engine for a second, if that's okay, because I've just remembered that the last sim racing race, which a former student did, we had a teaser video from you guys talking about an engine being live. What's the spec of the engine? What's the powertrain then going to be for this year? It sounded nice.
We're still running our old engine. We still run the CBR engine that we had last year. Nothing really changed much. We have a new intake though, because our intake last year was carbon fiber. I didn't make it. It wasn't part of the competition team. It was somebody else made it. He just kind of like just spread resin on it. I mean, he's a really cool guy. He's our old team principal, but yeah, it just had a lot of holes in it and all that. So we didn't get to use the carbon fiber. It was really expensive. It was something like 300 pounds or something like that.
Oh, wow.
We didn't get to use it. We ended up 3D printing random slabs. So 3D printed parts and just stack them all together to make an intake. That's what we had last year.
Right.
But this year we have a proper design intake, no carbon fiber, just full. I think it was like 100% infill or something like that.
Yeah. And currently I'm in the process of reprinting that with a material that can resist the temperatures that the intake needs, because the current intake we printed, we forgot that the intake or the temperature could have reached up to 130 degrees. So the plastic we used would have melted at that. So now we're using PTAG to make sure it's better.
These are interesting discussion points, I have to say. Like, I'm putting on my design and cost hat for a second. I'm wondering, how were you guys able to justify this last season? Or is this part of the evolution as to why you're going for different design stances this year then?
I think we have very different goals last year than we did this year. Last year we had a very ambitious goal of winning first. So aero kit, everything kind of have to be like high spec and like really designed thoroughly. And money wasn't really an issue last year, but this year, I mean, as you can tell, it's a pretty big issue. As a composites team, like I haven't been really doing much because I don't have the money for carbon fiber and do carbon fiber research. So I've just been doing a lot of CFD on a car that doesn't have aero this year, and I think our CFD actually went pretty far. We currently have a yaw model. We have a what do you call it? A power throw of a yaw model. So basically, the wind, instead of having the straight domain that you normally have in CFD, the domain is curved, and then you can either extend that or shorten it depending on the angle of your curving of the car, the cornering of the car. So you have angled wheels, angled air, and it's just a more accurate way of doing CFD, I think. But we don't have an aero kit this year, so that thing, I finished that job and I stored it. It's a workflow.
It's so worth having though, because at the end of the day, you'll need to be able to justify the removal of the aerodynamics package, and you'll be able to turn around and say, this is how it was performing with the aerodynamics. This is how it was performing without the aerodynamics. This is the change in performance, and make your justification based on that. It might also be worth clarifying for those that aren't as in the trenches when it comes to Formula Student and engineering in general, what CFD actually is.
It's computational fluid dynamics, AA color for fluids, because it's not really real. You can't solve the Navier-Stokes equation in the third dimension. At the end of the day, you still need wind tunnel data, but it's the best that we can get because we don't have a wind tunnel. We've got to go all the way to Bristol to test that. So,
Just to add on to that as well, guys. So one of the biggest benefits of CFD is, as you're saying, you don't have to go and travel off to use a wind tunnel. Some teams may actually go and do real life testing as well to try and get that data. So if they're in a situation where they haven't got the budget in place to utilize a wind tunnel, or they don't have the budget in place to go and do actual testing, or maybe they don't even have the car built yet, you can start using these computer models to build and kind of predict what you're going to expect the car behaviors to be like. It's such a great way of cost cutting, but also giving you guys a better idea of what to expect with the car once you actually get to go and play with it on the track, right?
Yeah. Exeter in itself actually has a wind tunnel, but it's actually pretty small. It's about something about this big. So you can't really test much from it. We did. One of our team members are testing airfoil designs right now in that wind tunnel. So we do have a wind tunnel. It works. We can use it for, I guess, smaller parts of the car, but not really the entire thing.
Okay, so I'm hearing icy. I'm hearing cheap, effective, but reliable, and I'm hearing aero.
Lack of aero.
Well, lack of aero. Lack of aero, beg your pardon. What else are we looking forward to seeing on the car this year?
Steering wheel?
Steering wheel.
No, but completely new steering wheel
Okay.
design.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I was kind of getting excited there. I was thinking, what's a steering wheel? Never heard of one of
Like
those
a
before.
completely new steering wheel. And it's got a bunch more electronics than at the moment.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
We're spearheading the design. And
Yeah, so we pretty much we want to add, as you can see, well, as you see in like Formula One, the LED rev display, a gear display, and an LCD,
Okay.
all in the steering wheel, which is the electronics itself. It's really not that complicated because there are like chips that pretty much just to turn like the frequency of the tacho into a voltage, and then just use like an LED driver.
Nice. Okay.
The complicated bit is the programming. That's going to be a pain to do, and it's going to take a while. But also, for the actual PCB for the steering wheel, we have, for the quick release, there's like a big spacer in the middle.
Right.
So the PCB has to have a hole in the middle, which makes it a bit interesting.
Yeah. Most PCBs don't have a massive donut in the center.
Exactly, which is, it would just make the design process a bit more complicated because we need to fit everything on that area. I was thinking of doing like a multi-layer PCB, but that would be...
That's unique. Certainly a unique approach to the design challenge.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, when we were talking about PCB,
Yeah, so that's a... what does that stand
Printed
for?
circuit board.
Printed circuit board, yeah.
printed circuit board.
So it's pretty much in all electronics, if you see like a remote for your TV, if you open it up, you'll see like it's usually green, a green like
Plastic,
plastic, silicon epoxy, and that would pretty much just like hold all the electronics that you would need for that device to work. And for the design process, we will usually use it's pretty much the same as CFD, but for electronics, we will use a multisim.
Right.
So we would design our circuitry in the computer and also run simulations, which they're not 100% accurate, but like in CFD, we know that if in the simulations it's not doing something, we know that it won't do that, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I explained it correctly or not, but yeah, I mean, it's yeah.
it's not, we have quite a...
That's a very loaded sigh. There's a lot to do here, isn't there?
It's just the programming. It's just the programming that I'm not looking forward to it.
Because we will need to do it ourselves, because we've been outsourcing the programming to other members of the team or other people we know that do quite a lot of computer science or have more experience. And we've got about 5 people who quit the project now.
High turnover.
Right. It's a big high turnover. I think it's worth just adding at this point, though, for the benefit of the audience, that this isn't a situation unique to XRacing. If you want to be able to go grey by the time you're 30, lose all your hair by the time you're 30, I recommend electronic engineering to anyone.
It's not easy. It's not easy. Being in a Formula student team,
not easy at all.
Being in a Formula student team in and of itself isn't easy. And you were saying this year compared to last year, budgets are really tight. How is that affecting XRacing, and is there any way that anybody could help with regards to that?
Yeah, you can go to our Instagram and donate. That's the best thing.
So you can they can donate, can they? They can go to your Instagram. They can donate.
Yeah.
So what sort of an impact is it currently having on the team?
Oh, a lot of. I mean, from the composite side, it's kind of really sad because I was expecting, like this year as a composites team, I'm just gonna be working on a lot of carbon fiber, doing a lot of tests. The only test that we have right now is 4-point bending test on different carbon sandwiches, and we used up all of our carbon for that. Like, no joke, that's how much money we have right now. We finished the carbon for that already. So I'm gonna have to beg the treasurer for more money. Hopefully he gives me to make the nose cone, but we'll see.
What else can you use if you haven't got carbon fiber?
The glass fiber.
Right.
And I don't know, it's like you're really poor, probably hemp.
You are in the land of tractors, so I mean, this is Devon after all.
I mean, we can also pack informer with aluminium.
Yeah, well, you can't make a nose cone out of aluminum, can't you?
You cannot, but budget constraints.
So if anybody wants to help you guys out of the fix that you're in, Instagram is your place to go, and there's a link to a Just Giving page. Is there?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And if you're a sponsor watching, please sponsor us as well.
I mean, there's plenty of room on your clothing. I mean, you can put all the logos everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of room, plenty of opportunity to sponsor the team. And I've seen previous sponsorship ties that you guys have done and promotions that you've done, and they come across as really slick. So if a business wants to be promoted to the Formula student demographic, getting involved in sponsoring a Formula student team, especially down this end of the country, because there's not a lot. We were looking at a map earlier, me and Monty, and Exeter is further south than Southampton just by going across like down. It's about that. You can tell I don't do geography. And it's also further south than both Bath and Bristol. So there's local companies.
It's probably most southwest university.
Absolutely.
With an active FS car at the moment, which we're aware of in the UK.
Yes. I mean, there might be ones further southwest that we're not aware of, and we've just completely misspoken, to which we say sorry. At least I say
This is
sorry.
why you need to reach out to us and let us know that you're further southwest than Exeter and you have a working FS car so we can come and see you later.
I mean, I've got a sense of direction of James May. I used to get Birmingham and Bridgewater mixed up when I was a child.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I'm from Taunton. Both of them are north of Taunton, and both of them had depressing accents. So as far as I was concerned, Birmingham and Bridgewater may as well have been the same place.
That's fair. No, that's entirely fair. But no, jokes aside, you make a good point there. With a university this far away from, I guess you could say, the motorsport industry, because most of it is above London, right? It's in Northamptonshire. So actually, that is my question for you guys. What kinds of activities are there down in this neck of the woods in Devon to get involved in motorsport? Do you feel that you're by yourself, or are there other like allies and affiliates nearby which you can tag team with, which has been able to enable this project?
I mean, obviously you can get into your... Okay, to be fair, most of my seniors and almost my friends, they get like part-time jobs with defense companies.
Okay.
Somehow it's down in Exeter, and they kind of work online. What do you call that?
Remote working.
Remote working. And there's also a lot of places where you can get like a part-time job as a technician. I know one as well where they hire students and they kind of get you trained as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the label, but I don't think I am. So
No, that's fair. We'll keep it anonymous for the sake of this one. But
there are jobs out there.
There are jobs out there, so I think that's the main thing to take away from here. So just needs a bit of looking. It's not always a case of having to go up to Milton Keynes and to Northampton to get those jobs then.
yeah.
Depends on whether you want to go into military contract or not. But we know definitely for a fact that there's a lot of military companies based in the southwest. I mean, I know that Yeovil's got Leonardo.
And BAE.
Further south, you've got down in Plymouth, you've got Babcock. So there is, it's a different type of engineering down this end of the country compared to, as you were saying, Northampton, Milton Keynes, and Motorsport Valley, so to speak.
But it's still applicable,
Yeah,
right? Engineering is still
yeah.
maths and science. It's just whether you want to go into the motorsport world or if you want to get your hands dirty in the different disciplines of engineering.
At the end of the day, F equals MA, no matter what you're building.
Yes, I get reminded of this every time I go karting.
Well, exactly. Or do other drivers get reminded of that?
Yes, quite.
Are karting socials a regular occurrence for XRacing?
We sometimes have them, but there's a different karting society as well.
I see.
So some of our members usually just go there. Yeah.
Are you looking forward to Silverstone? Because we loved having you guys there last year. It was very much the Range Rover of Exeter with the Land Rovers turning up and everybody in your British racing green. It was great to see. Are we going to see you guys at competition, especially with regards to the car being touch and go by the sounds of things? I mean, there's a lot of positivity around it, but I also appreciate that with the budget limitations comes the fact that you need to make sure that your static events are also very up to scratch. How are you feeling about the static events?
Ooh, I mean, our car is designed simply to pass your scrutineering this year, so I'm pretty sure we're going to go through the static events pretty fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've got business, you've got cost, you've got design judging. How are you all preparing for that? Because a lot of people, if you're watching Formula Student as a spectator, it's just the weekend and it's just the dynamic events. But obviously in the week beforehand, you've got the business presentation. You've got to go through cost and explain from every nut and bolt right the way through to your power unit, how you've costed it, and then also explain your design choices. As you were talking about earlier, the budget limitations of carbon fiber, that's something that's been presented to you as a situation that you've got to face up to as an engineer and look at those alternatives like fiberglass, like aluminium. Yeah. How are you preparing, I should say, for the static events?
I think we prepared pretty well for cost as well, even though we have a very little budget, because we recently found out that apparently it's actually cheaper to import parts made in China instead of just making them in-house. Some of our parts...
Is that still relevant this week after all the political things going on?
Are we really going to bring up politics on this show?
This is the only time I'm going to bring it up right now, because it could suddenly be 125% more expensive for you after what's been going on
luckily
this
we
week.
ordered it before that happened, you know?
Wise. Very wise. We need some more politics stuff now. I broke the rules. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Can we just appreciate that on this show, I wasn't the one that brought up politics?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I was about to say I could just edit this whole part out, but now I feel like I've got to keep it in for the sake of it. Otherwise,
just for that point alone,
exactly.
miracles do happen.
There we are.
I didn't get on my soapbox. So it turns out it's cheaper to import certain parts from China than it is to manufacture them in-house. Yes. And that's a new discovery for you guys as a team this year. And you think that's going to put you in good stead for the costing?
Yeah, and also one of our things that we're saving a lot of time. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the whole no carbon fiber thing, but at the end of the day, I don't have to go to the composite lab and start laying that by myself, you know? You get in parts, you get the aluminum parts here, you just chop it up, you slap it there. At the end of the day, composite is cutting and pasting, so yeah.
You will still need to bend some stuff because we're using some aluminum composite sheets.
Yes.
So they're pretty hard to bend, right? Because they snap.
Because they're not just an aluminium sheet. There's something a bit more to it because it's aluminium composite. So what does that entail?
It's mostly like it's aluminium, but it's not 100% aluminium. It's something a bit harder, but it's very brittle. Right. Very brittle.
It's reinforced aluminium, but as a result, it loses its flexibility.
Yes.
Right, I see. Okay.
So, yes. It's like someone painted it with aluminium painting and called it a different material.
I get you. I mean, I'm really intrigued to see the car. You've got a tubular space frame chassis that you're running with. Okay, I'm excited to see the car come to Silverstone. I really hope it does get there as well.
It will get there.
And we will remind you, if you're watching and you fancy supporting a Formula Student team, there's a Just Giving page on the XRacing Instagram. Other Formula Student teams are available. We're not showing any bias. If any other Formula Student, I know for a fact that Strathclyde previously have done a crowdfunding to get them over to FS Germany, and they did that last year, and we were promoting that on our stories, myself and Monty.
Yes.
So if other Formula Student teams are in doing fundraising, go and look at those as well. Other Formula Student teams are available. Please don't lynch us.
Jokes aside, it's in one way, I feel sad when teams have to go down the route of crowdfunding because at the end of the day, I think we all treat Formula Student teams like businesses. But at the same time, there's a huge positive which comes from them, particularly for universities, perhaps in lesser known areas around the country. So Strathclyde, I think Glasgow lost a lot of its engineering prowess maybe 30, 40 years ago. Suddenly that gave them an opportunity to kind of align with other businesses who had moved into the area which they weren't aware of. They went, hang on, there's a local university doing engineering. This aligns with our goals. I think Honeywell Turbos or something like that. They had opened up a huge factory in between Glasgow and Edinburgh. So suddenly, there were now new engineering opportunities to align with the universities there, which no one was aware of. So no, I'm hoping, like we were talking about with you guys being so far out in comparison to most of where the other industries are, I'm hoping it will give an opportunity for local engineering firms to go, oh, yeah, actually, there's an opportunity to tag team with University of Exeter here, especially as it's a Russell Group at the end of the day. The prestige of it all, right?
Couldn't have put it better myself. There's a Russell Group University here who are more than open to sponsorship, and you can get your company known to potential recruitment later down the line? Because at the end of the day, you guys are going to need jobs at some point, and if you're down here in Exeter, and there
Yeah.
are engineering firms based down here in Exeter. Renishaw's got a lot of facilities in both Bristol and Exeter.
Yes.
So you've got, as we've been talking about, there are the military companies based down here as well. You guys will be looking for jobs. They'll be looking for employees, especially with the defense budgets going up so much in light of recent global political events. You know, there's a massive opportunity here.
Yeah, and Exeter historically is renowned for its STEM engineering, its science, biology, marine biology. I know of a few people from Jersey who came over here to specifically go into marine biology and geoengineering. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunities here. So
Also, what's really cool is one of the co-makers of OpenFoam, the CFD app, the CFD software that the Formula team uses, Gavin Tabor, is actually lecturing here for CFD as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
What's that like?
I don't know, I'm in a second year. I haven't been taught by him, but all of my seniors said that he's a really good guy. He's really cool.
Oh, fantastic. So you were all in your second year of university.
Yeah.
We're in electronics. He's in mechanical.
So I imagine you'll be sticking around for at least another year, maybe 2 years if you're doing the Masters.
Yeah.
How are you all feeling about the team? Where do you want to see the team go? Because clearly you're committed to the bit now.
Yeah.
What's the plan going forward for XRacing? Where do you see the team going?
I think after the team sees that we can actually produce a car that can go through scrutineering, we might add more complex stuff such as aero. Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. What about you, Daniel? What would you like to see XRacing do before you graduate?
Do a lot more complicated electronics in the car. A lot more sensors control every single part of the car. Have a much better wiring harness than we currently have. Yes, and maybe get a new ECU we were talking about, which I'm really excited about because it's got data priority, which it does. I don't know if I can express my excitement over that, but it's very important.
Wow. Okay. And you've been nodding along there, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, mainly the wiring loom, because, well, of course, that's like the nervous system of the car. And if that's done properly, that could last for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I don't know, as long as the car doesn't undergo a major design change.
Well, would an EV power unit not constitute a major design change?
The thing is, in terms of the wiring diagram or wiring loom, we have a lot of it. It's connected to the internal combustion engine. So technically, if you just like rip those wires out, and it should be able to, like the basics or like the skeleton of it, it should be able to.
So it's transactional. It's very easy to make the transition on a baseline from IC to EV in terms of the wiring loom.
Yeah, just like the baseline though.
Okay.
It wouldn't be interchangeable.
No.
But just the baseline, we should be able to use in the future, like the wiring diagram itself that we're also currently doing, which is also a pain to do. But we should be able to use the majority of it, or well, maybe not majority of it.
I mean, the baseline is still there, like he was saying, because I've been researching into making our loom the best we can, and I've been training upon it. And as long as we've got the skills, the actual making of it is not complicated. It's just getting the nice and tidy. Everything just needs to be connected from point A to point B, and maybe have a few splits in the middle because the 5 volts needs to connect to multiple places. Just
So at the end of the day, no matter what point A and point B are, whether they're an internal combustion engine or whether it's an electrical power unit, you're still going to have wires in between point A and point B. Wonderful stuff. It's been a real pleasure to catch up with you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to ask, Monty?
I mean, hopefully we can show you the new wiring loom, Silverstone. We plan to get it very tidy and professionally looking.
Yeah, because well, I think it's like good place to say, but we actually got one of our sponsors this year is ePlan,
Oh, excellent.
which is a like standard industry users per se, and I mean it is a lot to learn, but we know that once we actually get that running, it's going to make it so much easier to actually build the physical loom. Because I mean, like he's saying, is we just need to connect the cables, but at the end of the day, the car vibrates, the car gets hot, the car moves around. So we need to make sure that, especially on the bulkheads, we need to make sure that those are really well done.
Final question for me then, guys. I appreciate this may not be for you guys specifically, but will the sim racing team be joining us in Williams for the finals as well this year?
That's a very good question.
Make sure they turn up. Make sure they turn up. They have been the people's champions this season and last season. Their social media team are so active. They bring a lot of hype into the YouTube channel as well.
Might be the word.
Okay, vocal. But they certainly know how to get the audience engaging. It would be great for them to be there, particularly so we can put some faces to the names after speaking about them all year.
That would be good. That really would be good. And thank you for letting us come and chat to you guys. It's been a real pleasure to be down here.
Thank you very much for
your time. Thomas, Daniel, Chem, very best of luck with the rest of the year. And hopefully, whether it's at Williams or whether it's at Silverstone, we will see you at Formula Student in July.
Thank you very much for having us.